Good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Christ, I am disciple. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. This is a non-profit video. I am doing this mainly for information and education. I want to show you guys the mind of somebody who is a hater of Zack Snyder. Not a James Gunn fan. Not a DCU fan. Not a CW fan. Not even a Marvel fan. A person who specifically hates what Zack Snyder has done with the DCEU. You will learn very quickly that these butthurt fanboys are not reasoning with their minds. They're feeling with their emotions. They're emotional. Let's get to it. Let's remind you exactly what Superman's flying looks like, said Superman of Steel. Henry Cavill is Superman. This is in response, of course, to James Gunn's teaser, in which Superman does a barrel roll. When he's doing the barrel roll, it looks fine. When he comes out of the barrel roll, we see his face. It looks like Uncanny Valley, right? So Jay is this Snyder hater. Jay is a Snyder hater. And he says, so glad this era is over. Good riddance. This is after watching First Flight of Man of Steel, which is universally praised by everybody. So Superman of Steel said, cool beans. Hope it's good. Alter Buddy says, instead of progressing, some people just prefer to go back to mediocrity, which I have to agree with. And Jay said, can't be much worse than Snyder's writing. I'll take Gunn any day. So the first thing he does, he says, in other words, he thinks that Zack Snyder wrote Man of Steel and BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is what he's saying. Which is funny because Snyder actually wrote Wonder Woman, right? He actually is credited with the story of Wonder Woman. The other three movies I just mentioned, he's not really credited for the story, nor is he credited for the script writing. So it's just one of the ironies. But anyway, I correct him by telling him that Snyder didn't write that. It was Chris Terrio and David Goyer. And he responds with, Chris Terrio was out of his depth with BVS and helped write Star Wars Episode 9, to which and he said, Goyer helped Nolan write Begins. He didn't help him write Begins. He was the scriptwriter for Begins. Anyway, the point is, he's trying to go into particulars about them and discredit them, even though David Goyer is a great writer, Chris Terrio is a great writer, right? And so is Christopher Nolan, who actually started off the universe. He actually gave the story for Superman, or he's credited with the story. Anyway, I go on to say, you praise a guy whose only successful directorial works are two projects, which is, of course, Dawn of the Dead and the Guardian of the Galaxy projects, right? While Snyder has 8, from Dawn of the Dead to Twilight of the Gods. I mean, give me a break. I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and 3 are boring. Suicide Squad is just meh. Suicide Squad was flopped. It flopped. I mean, to be fair, I'm not the biggest fan of his writing sometimes, and Galaxy 3 was my least favorite, but each of the films still had heart. I actually like TSS, but haven't seen it in a while. If you read what Zack had planned for the Justice League sequels, you easily choose Gunn's DCU. So the Superman of Steel says, I'm with you. I feel Gunn's writing has either stayed the same or just gotten tired. I get that some points of Snyder's future films weren't for everyone, but I also argue that changes can be, and probably were, on the cards. And that said, I still choose Snyder's DC over Gunn's. I'm cautiously optimistic that Gunn's Superman can be good, so long as he avoids cast bloat and focuses on Clark's character. So you see, he's not really a Gunn fan, right? That's the point. I recall Gunn saying this film is different from others, more sincere, less comedic. I do like some of the shots in the trailer, so we'll see. I hope it is. He has coasted on repeating the same thing, and even just as a filmmaker, he hasn't really been challenged. This is his challenge. I enjoyed the trailer. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. So I respond to Superman of Steel by saying, you cool with these then? And I show basically stuff from Justice League with Superman and his weird looking mouth. I didn't show Henry Cavill. He looks very weird. Here's the dead-eyed Christopher Reeve and that other lady who was a Supergirl. And then Gunn just slamming his Superman into the ground. Are you cool with that stuff? That's what I want to know. You know what I'm saying? So Alter Buddy's like laughing. And Jay says, I'll take my chances. Gunn's universe is just starting with Superman while Snyder had his chance and blew it. And he's trying to show me that these are bad clips right here. Wow, that's a good grip. And then the Granny's peach tea. For some reason, they think that's a downside. This is how brain dead these people are. They actually think they're throwing a jab at BVS with Granny's peach tea. And then Superman, of course, he's discouraged right now after he doesn't understand how the explosion happened around him. And apparently, he thinks that Joker pulling a card out of his mouth, which didn't really happen, but sort of blew it out of his mouth, he thinks that's actually bad for some reason. So, first I'll give you Man of Steel's response to it, and you're going to see my response to it, because my response is based on facts, okay? So, Superman of Steel said he didn't blow it, and by saying that you clearly know nothing. Also, Gunn started his universe with creature commandos, while shoehorning in his shit from the Hamadoverse. I hope it's good, but TSS, Peacemaker, and creature commanders have all been poor, and literally, the numbers for those things are not good at all. I think Peacemaker has the best numbers in all of them, but creature commandos, it's basically flopped as TSS, okay? So Jay's coming back and saying, Zack did blow it. He had a 10-year plan for the DCU and only made a fraction of it. That's not his problem. He didn't blow it because he was only doing a fraction of it. The studio canned him, just like how the studio's canning Matt Reeves' sequel, even though he's had a successful Batman movie. It's just what it is. The studio is fucked up. He wasted Superman's potential and turned Batman into a killer, which is not true. Killed off side characters early like Jimmy and Mercy, and the leaks show he'd killed the Riddler and Green Lantern too, short-term plan. And so, guess what? Tim Burton's Batman, the Joker, was killed off, and he didn't blow it. WB blew it as they didn't allow his 10-year plan. You seem to be blaming the wrong person. As I said in another post, I think, had Snyder continued release his jail, we'd be on track and already in a reboot. This is correct. WB didn't write his story for him. Sure, they interfered in his production, but Zack's responsible for Superman's characterization, which is the worst depiction I've seen. I've hated Justice League, but the one thing it actually got right was making Clark likable again. Wow. That's a mouthful. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with Superman's character in either Man of Steel or BVS. Clark was also likable. In fact, Clark is the most relatable and likable of all live-action Supermans. Also, Snyder didn't write the story, so try using factual evidence when arguing. There you go. All right, let's go back up to here. So he said he was taking his chances. So when he showed, that's a good grip. Wow, that's a good grip. With Lex Luthor bumping Clark's chest, I laughed because he doesn't even know it comes from the comics. That good grip that Lex was talking about comes from Forever People Issue 1. Also, see the parallels between Superman in it and the thoughts of Superman in BVS. By the way, Rocky he interviewed was which Rocky? Meaning Rocky Marciano or Rocky from the TV. This is in 1971, by the way. Just for the record, I want to show you that it actually is so. But other events are stirring. In his small office at the Daily Planet, Clark finishes an interview with a famous sports figure. So he's a famous sports figure. We're talking about probably Rocky Marciano. Thanks for dropping in, Rocky. This will make a great human interest feature. Glad to help, Kent. The boys at the sports desk rate you as an okay guy. Say, that's quite a good grip you got. Ever been in the ring? Or no, I just eat the right morning cereals. Rocky, one more question before you leave. Why are you unhappy? Caught that in your notes, did you? But you're the champ. The public loves and respects you. That's just what's bugging me. What have I done that Superman couldn't do better? He can put down an army of title holders. With Superman in the picture, the fight game is a farce. If only I could meet him on his own terms. Yes, I see your point of view, Rocky. No charge, Ken. And keep it off the record. It might hurt the gate receipts. Sure, champ. Poor Rocky. Poor Superman. Despite his powers, he's a minority of one in a teeming world of billions. What does Superman mean to you down there? A stranger in a strange land. Do they secretly resent him, fear him, hate him? For the first time in many years, I feel that I'm alone. Alone. And if you do think about this moment that we were just looking at there, you know, not just the good grip moment, but this moment right here. You know, this moment right here is how Superman feels. He feels alone. And that's why he left mankind and went into seclusion. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. He thought he could stop it and he couldn't stop, right? He failed. So, addressing the Granny's peach tea, I decided to use an excerpt from what actually was in the bottle named Granny's peach tea. Well, Lex Luthor took the challenge that Senator Finch said. Senator Finch said, you can take a weapon of assassination, call it a deterrent. You will not full a fly on me. I won't drink it. You can call it a bucket of piss or Granny's peach tea. Call it whatever you want. But you take a weapon of assassination, a deterrent, and you call it a deterrent, you will not full a fly on me. I will not drink it. In other words, you will not deceive me into getting that permission for you. So Lex Luthor, he took that as a challenge. He wanted to prove to her that he can actually take a bucket of piss and call it Granny's peach tea, and that he can actually, in other words, he could actually fool her. He could actually fool her, and fool her he did. And how did he fool her? He fooled her into thinking that he would attend the function, the tribunal that she was having for Superman. He would be there, but instead, he showed her the peach tea, probably took a bucket of piss and called it peach tea, and he was saying to her, you did bite the bait. I baited you into going into the Senate, and you didn't suspect that I was about to kill you. I baited you into killing you. And just before she died, he did his little touche, his little checkmate. All right, so he used the label to say it was a symbol of his victory. Maybe it wasn't a bucket of piss. Maybe it was. But a point behind it was to say touche. And Jay, getting emotional, a Snyder hater, he said, fool her how? By telling Finch he'd be at the hearing only to rig a guy's bomb to blow up the court along with his personal assistant Mercy Graves? How's that fooling her? Are we seriously trying to defend Granny's piss now? If Gunn did this scene, he'd catch hell, which I found very intriguing. The weird thing about it is apparently he does not grasp. Still, that's the significance of it. It's metaphorical. He's not literally. Anyways, after saying that, I'm going to pursue it. I said, funny you mentioned James Gunn. Ironically, he isn't getting flack for copying what Snyder has done in BVS, the very movie you are trashing. See, you may be intelligent, but your hate makes all your arguments a joke. You seem like an angry clown who I can't take seriously because of these receipts. James Gunn cites Zack Snyder as a huge influence on the Superman movie. I think all previous DC media influenced me. I think that obviously the original Donald movie influenced me, and Zack Snyder did some excellent stuff. So there's a lot of ways that influenced me. And is James Gunn just Zack Snyder with a new coat of paint? First, he lists the points. Kindness is old-fashioned. First, there's the old-fashioned thing. James Gunn describing Superman as being kindness in the world and thinks the kindness is old-fashioned. I've heard people praise this and say, now that's Superman. But wasn't that the same thing Snyder did? I'm reminded of the scene in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice in the Daily Planet where Perry discouraged Clark from pursuing the Bat thing. Clark, Perry, when you assign a story, you're making a choice of who matters and who's worth it. Perry, good morning, Smallville. The American conscience died with Robert, Martin, and John. And the other scene, Clark, if the police won't help, the press has to do the right thing. Perry, you don't get to decide what the right thing is. Clark, when the planet was formed, it stood for something, Perry. Perry says, and so could you if it was 1938, but it's not 1938. WPA ain't hiring no more. Apples don't cost a nickel. Not in here, not out there. You drop this thing. 2, the world hates Superman. Well, some of the world at least. And I can't avoid this picture. Look at this picture. Look at this picture, y'all. I mean, it can't be more on the nose. Okay? James Gunn's trailer has Superman walking through a cloud of people throwing stuff at him. Is this not similar to all the protesters in BVS with signs saying Earth belongs to humans, aliens, doomed nation, God hates aliens, this is our world, not yours, when the invasion becomes really revolt becomes duty? Or the guy who wrote false God on the statue? 3, the international deification of Superman. And we see Superman being deified here. And then you see the little boy wearing the Superman flag in Gunn's trailer and praying to Superman. In Gunn's trailer, we see a kid in foreign country holding a flag with the symbol of L and whispering Superman. Is this not similar to the montage in BVS where Superman stood in a sea of people with arms reaching out during Day of the Dead, or when he flew above the house with the symbol of L on it? Fast tracking other superheroes. People criticize DC for not running their own race and trying to fast track Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, Cyborg into Man of Steel 2 without even giving them origins. In fact, they said they crammed them in. It was a clusterfuck in BVS. That's what they said. Now I'm seeing people saying it's refreshing for Superman Legacy to take place in the world full of established characters like Guy Gardner, Hawkwoman, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, and Engineer. So we're not bugged down by origins? Which is it? And then number 5, The Apocalypse. In Creature Commandos episode 4, we're shown a vision of the future where the Justice League is dead and a certain character has become a villainous overlord. The heroes are even on crosses like the ones in the background after Superman died in BVS. Seems like we're already starting to set up similar storylines to the Snyderverse. The only thing missing is Lois Lane being the key. Also, this has to be a record. Zack Snyder killed Superman 2 movies in. J.J. Abrams killed Superman in his first movie. But now James Gunn has killed Superman before he's even been introduced in his first movie. I don't even know that was possible. Congratulations, Mr. Gunn. I think you win. This is the fastest death of Superman we've ever had. To be clear, I'm not saying that any of this will make Gunn's universe bad. Obviously, it comes down to execution. Gunn's version might wind up being a better version of Snyder's intentions. But it's still weird seeing people rejoice at the ideas themselves, the multitude of characters, the kindness in a world that thinks kindness is old-fashioned thing. As if those things were new. They're not new. And this is a great point. And that's how you know you're dealing with haters. You're dealing with Snyder haters. You know? Clearly, you can take in a lot if you're a Snyder bro. Nobody had an issue with the premise of BVS. Oh, everybody had an issue with the premise of BVS. You even have an issue with where Zack Snyder's taking these characters, and you even said it in discussions. It's about execution, poor writing, and mischaracterizations. If Gunn created all of Man of Steel, it would be inherently better because he isn't a hack writer who slams action figures together, which, by the way, isn't the case because Zack Snyder didn't write these movies. So again, this hater is going on falsehoods, and they constantly go on artificial constructed falsehoods because emotionally they hate Zack Snyder for taking the character in a certain direction, and they had a narrow-minded view of what the character was supposed to be. And Zack opened up their minds to comics, to the perception of the character in comics, etc. All right. Snyder didn't write BVS, Man of Steel, no Zack Snyder's Justice. That was David Goyer Cristeria. So to call him a hack writer is hilarious. So far, our trailer shows execution as a carbon copy, literally. You are one of those Snyder haters. You're funny as fuck. You are a circus clown. All right. With respect to Granny's peach tea and all of that, I said, so he didn't set her up to get bombed. By the way, by the time she realized he pulled a fly on her, she was good as dead. You're not going to acknowledge that he called it exactly what she said and she drank it, a touche. Why? Because of your emotions? I don't have time for nostalgic children. First off, Finch didn't drink anything. She noticed the piss jar and died shortly after. She hardly a fool for attending her own court hearing. If anything, she's a fool for not beefing security when she suspected Lex of foul play. That's nothing to do with Lex's intellect. You're really that stupid. It's figurative, stupid. You are a clown. I see you don't know how words work. Got it. How does this help your argument again? As I said before, he's brain dead. So obviously he conned her, into doing this hearing. She's assuming that he didn't have something up his sleeve. And he's now saying that they should have beefed up security. But they did. Yeah, and they had things to track bombs and stuff, but the lead lining, he had outplayed her once again. And the fact that he outplayed her means that she was gullible, which means she got tricked. And that's how she got bombed. I mean, this is common sense, but obviously common sense is not common with these guys. All right, let's keep it going. So I broke down the good grip. I broke down Granny's peach tea. Now I'm going to talk about Superman. Superman does become discouraged, as in BVS, where he thought He should have been able to stop the bomb, but couldn't because he couldn't see through lead. Kingdom Come Superman walked away from mankind. Superman in Peace on Earth and Hitman number 34 were discouraged after failing. And I just go through these comics here. So in Superman Kingdom Come, here are the two words that may sound familiar: truth and justice. You can't have completely forgotten them. Just see for yourself. See what's happening in the world. That's all I ask. So Superman looks at the different things happening. Those who a decade previous felt the crush of Superman's greatest and most necessary failing, his inability to perceive himself as the inspiration he is, because Superman walked away from mankind for a decade in Kingdom Come. The shock of seeing Superman suddenly abandon his never-ending battle took an immeasurable toll on his contemporaries and peers. Some of their spirit stripped. They chose Superman's way and left and retired. Others, unable to turn their backs completely on the world they knew, continued to use their special abilities to champion order. Though in most clandestine wars, they failed. And this is important for people to understand that Superman, there are consequences to Superman turning his back on the world. And he did it in Kingdom Come. He did it. Also, he was going to kill the leaders of the world in the United Nations by the end of Kingdom Come, if it wasn't for the intervention of the same guy who the Spectre is speaking to right now, who stopped Superman from doing that and got him back in touch with his humanity. That's what makes Kingdom Come so great. In Superman Peace on Earth, Superman was relaying some supplies to people who were hungry, and the military destroyed those supplies in that given country. But they didn't just destroy it, they poisoned it. And so Superman says here, my mission ends here, incomplete and in failure. He tried to supply food to them, but because it was poisoned, no matter what he tried to do, he failed, and you can see him dejected there. And then here's another example in Hitman number 34. By the way, Hitman is a DC character. I didn't know that. So Hitman, the video game Hitman, is all based off a DC character. Anyway, in Hitman 34, Superman tries to save some people on a spaceship who are on a mission. Their captain had been dead, at least that's what he assumed. And when he went to save them, he saw the captain there. He only had a split second. Here's the captain looking at him just before everything exploded, and the captain died. He didn't get to save the captain, and so he was dejected. He went down to Earth, and he was trying to gather his thoughts on it, met Hitman, and started talking with him. Okay? So that's not something, again, out of the ordinary that Superman would be dejected right after an explosion. He did go on to help people in the Ultimate Edition, but then he flew off a bit despondent after that because of his failure, which, again, it's a human thing to happen. If you fail, you're going to take some time out, This was beautiful. Joker here, blowing out the Joker card, which is just fantastic. I love that. It's like a magic trick. And let's get to that there. Let's see. Here it is. The card that Joker presents to Batman in the apocalyptic scene is the same as the very first issue of Batman 1940 comic. He's like, so what? Easter eggs and trivia won't save a movie's writing. And I was like, the significance isn't, as it isn't trivia, is that the first time we see the confrontation of Batman and Joker in this universe mirrors the first confrontation of Batman with Joker in the comics. And it is so good. It's pretty lit. So he says, and they were never in the same scene together due to scheduling conflicts. Also, the scene in question is the worst scene in film. The entire epilogue was tacked on to tease a dead-end sequence that ultimately pissed off Snyder Bros. Unless you're cucked Superman. Nice try, though. That's literally what the leaks say about Snyder's Superman, that literally you've been fighting for peak fiction, bro. And so you can tell that this guy's just a Snyder hater. There's nothing to do. He didn't really have nothing to do with James Gunn. I wouldn't be surprised he's an executive of some kind and they're frothing at the mouth that Snyder is successful. But you can see there's no logic to it. You give them facts. You're literally dropping facts on them. This is facts here. Straight up facts. And they have no response. They don't come back with factual information. They actually start to go on these emotional tirades about how poor this scene is and how bad this scene is and stuff like that. And of course, it doesn't really matter what you say. You say it's a bad scene because you feel butthurt. A butthurt fanboy mad at Snyder. I put Circus Clown behind it. So, as you can see, butthurt fanboys, as they are, and I'm going to block him, butthurt fanboys, this is how they behave. And I thought I'd just give an example of it so that you guys could realize, because once you drop facts on these guys, they don't come back to you with facts. They come back with some sort of assumption or some sort of emotional response. They don't come with facts, and that's how you know a hater. A hater doesn't back up what he's saying as a legitimate criticism. A hater will come with stuff that he cannot substantiate. And once you're not coming with facts, we know you're coming with emotion. And that's what makes you a hater. And I thought I would highlight these haters out here so you guys would know these are the people who claim to be supporting James Gunn's Superman. They're haters. They don't like Zack Snyder. So anything other than Zack Snyder is good as far as they're concerned. And that's it. So that is why these movies are not succeeding. They're going to flop, and this one's going to flop, of course. And the reason is going to be because these people are not supporters of James Gunn. They say they are, but they're just haters of Zack Snyder. That's it. James Gunn could do exactly the same thing that Zack Snyder was doing. They would praise James Gunn for the exact same thing that Zack Snyder was doing, showing you that these people, they don't care about what Zack Snyder did. They don't care about what James Gunn is doing. They just hate the guy because at some point in time, they had a vision for what they thought the heroes were, and Zack destroyed that vision. And so as a result of that, they are mad at Zack Snyder for that. And of course, a lot of these people work in the industry. They're executives or they're people who work in the industry. They're industry people. They predicted that Zack Snyder's Man of Steel would fail even before Zack Snyder's Man of Steel came out. And then Man of Steel came out and it made money. It was the highest grossing Superman movie, right? They even critically bombed it and it did nothing. They then tried to critically bomb BVS, and they sabotaged that movie inside of Warner Brothers. People inside of Warner Brothers were sabotaging Zack. So Zack Snyder was going against people in his own company that's supposed to promote his movie. Plus, you had, of course, the Marvel fans. They would rise up because it's DC. And then on top of that, you also had the people who just hated Zack Snyder because, in their opinion, he wasn't representing Superman. And all of these people who were going up against Zack Snyder had absolutely nothing to do with the GA, had absolutely nothing to do with DC fans who actually like DC, okay? Who actually like DC. And they're the majority, the general audience, and people who like DC. People always put all this weight into critics. Critics, the most amount of critics that will ever critically review anything is about 500. There are about 500 critics in the industry. Maybe 500, maybe 1,000. You're comparing that to millions and millions and millions of people. So by artificially constructing critics to go against Zack Snyder, you're not doing anything because that's just a very small percentage of the mass audience that's going to see his films. And that's what people forget. These elitists hate Zack Snyder because the messages that he puts out in Hollywood are messages about humanity and about caring about humanity. And Hollywood wants to send programming to people. false hope. They want people to believe in the CIA. They want people to believe in the American military. They want people to believe in the American empire, the might of the American empire. And that is why Zack Snyder is hated in Hollywood. And he is hated in Hollywood. But he's not the only one. There are several other actors who are labeled as right-wing, just like Zack Snyder. They're labeled as, toxic. There are several of them. Now, there's a movement from Hollywood to Atlanta, Georgia. We have some places. I see some people trying to build up their own version of, a center for arts and entertainment in Texas. And kudos to them. Decentralize the thing, India has its Bollywood. Nigeria has its Nollywood. Become independent so you can tell your own stories. And so you can get away from the propaganda. And I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to say all of this to say, you got haters out here who have motivations that are probably deeper than you think. And of course, there are people who actually write scripts who are CIA who write scripts in Hollywood. They're involved in infiltrating to get their propaganda across. They're in almost every facet now of society. BlackRock is, investing in housing and in every single area because these people want to be in every single area so they can control every single area, the market forces, etc. In about 5 to 10 years' time, AI will have taken over the majority of jobs that humans used to do. While I don't believe that AI will be able to run the world, yet it will have a lot of resources in the world that it will be involved in. And the thing about it is that humanity is unique in the sense that AI cannot replicate movies yet. AI can't write a really great movie script. And the reason AI can't do that is because the human experience is more than a collection of data and information. You can have how much data you want, how much information you want. You can assort it however you wish to. The human mind assorts information in a different way. To appeal to the human mind and to appeal to people is not as easy as you think. And so, you can try and drive the machine, but the human experience is not something you can just replicate just like that. So that's why I think AI still has a ways to go before it can dominate the world and the aliens can dominate us and take us over and destroy us. But having said that, they're really on good course for multiple genocides on multiple fronts, and they're working hard at it. And Palestine is just one of several test areas that they're testing out how they can control humanity, how they can regulate humanity, all those checkpoints and stuff. They want to have that for the world. They want to clamp the whole world down. They want to shave off the world's population and control most of the humans in the world. And these people who will run that will be under the direct control and power of demons, which you guys call aliens, which aliens really do exist and demons do really exist as well. I'll catch you guys later. I am Christ, I am disciple. You guys have a good one. Peace.